April 21, 1943. Maintenance Depot, Fort Knox, Kentucky. Lieutenant Colonel William Harrell studied the intelligence report that had just arrived from North Africa. German Tiger UF heavy tank captured intact near Medjez El Bab, Tunisia. Transportation arranged for shipment to Aberdeen Proving Ground. Engineers estimate fuel consumption will be critical factor in combat effectiveness assessment. Staff Sergeant Raymond Mitchell, one of the first American tank mechanics trained on captured German equipment, examined the technical specifications with growing disbelief. A 57-ton tank with fuel capacity that barely matched American medium tanks. What none of them knew was that this mechanical marvel, feared across every battlefield, carried a fatal flaw that would fundamentally alter Allied understanding of armored warfare logistics. The Tiger I had dominated North African battlefields since December 1942. Its 88mm main gun could penetrate any Allied tank at ranges exceeding 2,000 yards. 8.1 inches of frontal armor made it nearly invulnerable to American 75mm guns at combat distances. German panzer crews called it the Königssteiger's predecessor, the king of the battlefield. The mere presence of Tigers forced entire American armored units to reconsider their tactics. At Kasserine Pass in February 1943, German forces equipped with Tigers had inflicted devastating casualties on inexperienced American units. Allied tankers reported shells bouncing off Tiger armor while German guns destroyed Shermans at distances where American crews couldn't even identify the threat. General George Patton had demanded immediate intelligence on Tiger capabilities. "Find out what makes these things tick," Patton ordered. "And find out how to kill them." The Tiger I represented German engineering philosophy, pushed to its absolute extreme. Henschel and Son began development in 1937 under the designation VK 45.01. The project aimed to create a breakthrough tank capable of engaging enemy armor at extended ranges while remaining impervious to return fire. Dr. Ferdinand Porsche and Henschel competed for the contract. Henschel's more conventional design won, though Porsche's electric drive system would influence later designs. Technical Sergeant Howard Bratz commanded the American team assigned to evaluate the captured Tiger at Aberdeen Proving Ground in May 1943. A mechanical engineer from Detroit, who had worked on heavy truck transmissions before the war, Bratz had spent 3 months studying captured German technical manuals translated by intelligence services. "This is the most sophisticated tank ever built," Bratz explained to his evaluation team. "But sophistication comes with costs most people don't see." The Tiger I's Maybach HL 230-45 engine generated 700 horsepower. A massive 21-liter V12 that consumed fuel at rates American engineers initially refused to believe. Length 20 feet 4 inches with turret facing forward. Width 12 feet 3 inches including tracks. Height 9 feet 4 inches. Combat weight 57 tons, heavier than any operational American tank. Armor protection was unprecedented. Frontal hull armor measured 4 inches thick, positioned at near vertical angles. Turret front armor reached 3.9 inches. Side armor was 3.2 inches. Even the rear armor exceeded 2 inches. American 75mm guns could only penetrate Tiger armor at ranges under 500 yards, and only with perfect perpendicular hits. The Tiger could engage Shermans at ranges where American tanks appeared as distant dots. The 88mm Kabul K-36L-56 main gun had been adapted from the legendary Flak 18 anti-aircraft gun. Muzzle velocity of 2,600 feet per second. Armor-piercing rounds could penetrate 4 inches of armor at 2,000 yards. Rate of fire in trained hands reached 6 to 8 rounds per minute. The gun elevated to 17 degrees and depressed to 8 degrees, superior to most Allied tanks. But Sergeant Mitchell noticed something immediately when examining the captured Tiger's fuel systems. The tank carried 120 gallons of fuel in 6 internal tanks. Simple mathematics revealed a devastating truth. Combat radius would be severely limited by consumption rates that seemed impossible. Lieutenant Mitchell reported to Bratz. If these German fuel consumption estimates are accurate, this tank gets approximately 1 mile per gallon under ideal conditions. Combat conditions would be significantly worse. Bratz initially dismissed the figures as translation errors. No tank could possibly consume fuel at such rates. The evaluation team decided to conduct actual fuel consumption tests at Aberdeen's tank testing grounds. May 17, 1943, 0800 hours. The captured Tiger IV, repainted with American markings and designated target Tiger I, began its first evaluation run at Aberdeen Proving Ground. Fuel tanks filled to maximum capacity. 3 American tank crews rotated operations over the next 72 hours, documenting every aspect of the Tiger's performance. Captain James Benson commanded the evaluation. A veteran of early North African campaigns who had seen Tigers destroy his unit's Shermans at Kasserine Pass. "I want to know everything about this machine," Benson instructed. "Speed, fuel consumption, mechanical reliability, crew ergonomics, everything." The Tiger's transmission was a masterpiece of complexity. A Maybach HL 230P45 engine connected to a Maybach Olvar OG 40O1216 gearbox with 8 forward gears and 4 reverse gears. The steering system used a hydraulically controlled differential that allowed radius turns by varying power to each track. German crews trained for months to master the steering controls. Lieutenant Robert Hayward, the evaluation team's driver, had been trained on Shermans and Stuarts. "The steering system is unlike anything American," Hayward reported after his first test drive. "You're not using clutch brake steering like our tanks. The wheel controls a hydraulic unit that meters power to each track. It's smooth when it works, but incredibly complex." Initial test runs measured basic performance. Maximum speed on level road reached 23 miles per hour, though the engine screamed at that rate. Practical maximum speed was closer to 18 miles per hour for sustained operations. Cross-country speed dropped to 12 miles per hour on average terrain. The Tiger was significantly slower than American medium tanks. The weight became apparent immediately when crossing soft ground. Standard width tracks distributed 57 tons over relatively small surface area. Ground pressure exceeded 15 pounds per square inch, higher than most Allied tanks. The Tiger frequently bogged down in mud or soft sand where lighter Shermans could pass. Combat tracks were 28.3 inches wide. Transport tracks, narrower to fit on rail cars, were reduced to 20 inches but made the ground pressure problem worse. On May 19th, the Aberdeen team conducted the comprehensive fuel consumption test that would reveal the Tiger's greatest weakness. The test protocol was simple. Fill fuel tanks completely. Drive a measured course including level road, cross-country terrain, and tactical maneuvers. Refill tanks and measure consumption. Sergeant Mitchell personally monitored fuel levels. The Tiger carried 120 gallons. The test course measured 100 miles of varied terrain. At 0700 hours, Mitchell topped off the fuel tanks and sealed them with American measuring equipment to ensure accuracy. Lieutenant Hayward drove the Tiger through the test course over the next 8 hours. Level paved road for 20 miles at 18 miles per hour. Cross-country terrain for 30 miles at varying speeds. Tactical maneuvers including acceleration, deceleration, turns, and simulated combat movements for 50 miles. The engine's roar echoed across Aberdeen's proving grounds. Thick black exhaust poured from the twin exhaust stacks whenever the driver accelerated. At 1700 hours, the Tiger returned to the fuel depot. The engine was overheating despite the test being conducted in mild Maryland spring weather. Mitchell immediately began measuring remaining fuel. The results stunned everyone present. The Tiger had consumed 107 gallons covering 106 miles. Fuel consumption averaged 0.99 miles per gallon. Under tactical conditions, simulating combat maneuvers, consumption increased to approximately 0.7 miles per gallon. Captain Benson stared at the figures. "Check those numbers again." Mitchell rechecked 3 times. The numbers were accurate. The Tiger I, Germany's most powerful tank, had an operational radius of roughly 60 miles under combat conditions before requiring refueling. A Sherman could travel approximately 120 miles on similar fuel loads. The implications revolutionized American understanding of German armored operations. Lieutenant Colonel Harrell compiled a comprehensive report for Ordnance Department and Army Ground Forces headquarters. The Tiger's fuel consumption represented a critical vulnerability that explained numerous battlefield observations. German Tiger units rarely operate more than 20 to 30 miles from their supply bases, Harrell wrote. This is not tactical preference, but logistical necessity. The Tiger requires approximately 1 gallon of fuel per mile under combat conditions. A single Tiger advancing 50 miles requires refueling twice, assuming fuel is available forward. The Maybach HL230 P45 engine was the root cause. 700 horsepower, moving 57 tons, meant the engine operated at high loads continuously. The carburetor system, designed for maximum power rather than efficiency, consumed fuel at rates that would be unacceptable in American designs. German engineers had prioritized combat power over operational range. Staff Sergeant Thomas Kowalski, a mechanical engineer assigned to the evaluation team, conducted detailed analysis of the Tiger's engine and fuel system. The Maybach is a racing engine adapted for tank use, Kowalski explained. Maximum power at high RPM, but fuel consumption increases exponentially with load. Moving 57 tons requires constant high power output. The fuel system complexity added to the problem. 6 separate fuel tanks required careful management. 2 tanks in the hull rear, 2 in the hull sides, 2 in the hull front. The fuel pumps were electrically driven and prone to failure. If one pump failed, the corresponding tanks became unusable. German crews carried tools to manually transfer fuel between tanks when pumps failed. American crews conducting the Aberdeen tests discovered additional fuel system issues. The filler caps were difficult to access and time-consuming to open. Refueling a Tiger from jerry cans required approximately 2 hours for a full fill. German tanker trucks could refuel faster but were vulnerable targets. The Tiger's fuel tanks were positioned near ammunition storage, creating catastrophic fire risks if penetrated. Winter operations revealed even worse consumption. Cold weather testing conducted at Fort Greely, Alaska, in December 1943 showed fuel consumption increasing to approximately 0.5 miles per gallon in extreme cold. The Maybach engine required extensive warm-up before operation. German crews in Russia reported running engines for 30 minutes before movement just to prevent mechanical failure from cold starts. The Tiger's operational limitations became clear through logistics analysis. A Tiger unit advancing 100 miles required approximately 140 gallons per tank. A company of 4 Tigers needed 560 gallons for a 100-mile advance. A battalion of 12 Tigers required 1,680 gallons. The logistics tail for Tiger units was enormous. German supply services developed elaborate systems to support Tiger operations. Specialized fuel trucks accompanied Tiger units. Forward supply dumps were established within 20 miles of anticipated combat zones. Tigers rarely operated beyond established supply lines because doing so meant abandoning immobilized tanks when fuel ran out. Allied intelligence confirmed these limitations through intercepted German logistics reports. A Wehrmacht supply officer wrote, "The Tiger battalion requires 3 times the fuel supplies of a standard panzer battalion, while fielding 1/3 the number of tanks." Fuel shortages have become the primary limiting factor in Tiger employment. Captain Robert Anderson, an intelligence officer analyzing German operations in Italy, noted the pattern. Tigers appear, fight briefly, then withdraw before advancing Allied forces can surround them. We initially attributed this to German tactical doctrine. Now we understand they're withdrawing because they lack fuel for extended operations. The Battle of Kursk in July 1943 demonstrated the Tiger's fuel consumption problems on a massive scale. German forces assembled over 140 Tigers for Operation Citadel. Soviet intelligence reported many Tigers were abandoned after advancing only 20 to 30 miles. German crews destroyed their own vehicles rather than allow capture. Post-battle analysis revealed most abandoned Tigers had empty fuel tanks. Technical Sergeant Mitchell continued studying the captured Tiger throughout 1943. He calculated that Tiger battalions required specialized logistics support equivalent to an entire infantry division's fuel needs. No army can field large numbers of Tigers, Mitchell concluded. The logistics are mathematically impossible. American tank designers learned critical lessons from the Tiger evaluation. The M26 Pershing heavy tank, developed in response to Tiger capabilities, emphasized balance between firepower, armor, and operational range. The Pershing's 90mm gun could penetrate Tiger armor at combat ranges. But critically, the Pershing achieved approximately 1.5 miles per gallon, 50% better than the Tiger despite comparable weight. The Sherman's advantage became clear through comparison. While Tigers could destroy Shermans at extended ranges, Shermans could operate for days without refueling. American armored divisions could advance 100 miles, engage in combat, and continue operations. German Tiger units advancing 100 miles required extensive logistics preparation and multiple refueling stops. General Patton received the Aberdeen Proving Ground reports in June 1943. His tactical guidance to Third Army reflected the new understanding. When encountering Tigers, do not engage frontally at range. Use superior mobility to flank or bypass. Tiger units cannot pursue due to fuel limitations. Force them to maneuver and they will run out of fuel attempting to counter your movements. The fuel consumption issue explained German tactical decisions throughout the war. Tigers were deployed as defensive weapons or for short-range offensives near supply bases. The defensive battles in Normandy, where Tigers inflicted heavy casualties on Allied armor, made perfect sense given fuel constraints. Tigers could defend from prepared positions without extensive movement. German attempts to improve Tiger fuel efficiency proved unsuccessful. The Tiger II, introduced in 1944 with even heavier armor and more powerful gun, suffered worse fuel consumption. The Maybach HL 230 PUL-30 engine generated the same power while moving 69 tons. Fuel consumption increased to approximately 0.6 miles per gallon. The Tiger II's operational radius was even more restricted. American tankers developed tactics exploiting Tiger fuel limitations. Tank destroyer units would engage Tigers at range, forcing them to maneuver. Once Tigers began maneuvering defensively, American units would withdraw, forcing Tigers to pursue or hold position. Either decision consumed fuel or surrendered terrain. "We're not trying to destroy them," explained Captain Thomas Riley, a tank destroyer commander. "We're trying to empty their fuel tanks." The logistics arithmetic was devastating for Germany. Producing fuel for Tiger operations required resources Germany couldn't spare. Synthetic fuel production consumed coal and electricity desperately needed elsewhere. Natural fuel sources in Romania were under constant Allied air attack. By late 1944, German fuel production collapsed, immobilizing entire panzer divisions including Tiger units. Sergeant Mitchell's final report on the captured Tiger included recommendations that influenced American armor development. Future heavy tanks must balance combat power with operational range. A tank that cannot reach the battlefield due to fuel constraints provides no combat value. The Tiger ED represents the upper limit of what current logistics can support. Training programs at Fort Knox incorporated Tiger fuel consumption data. American tank crews learned that Tigers were formidable opponents in prepared positions, but vulnerable to maneuver warfare. The psychological impact of Tigers was real, but understanding their limitations reduced fear. "They're dangerous if you fight them on their terms," instructors taught. "But they can't chase you, and they can't operate far from supply bases." The captured Tiger remained at Aberdeen Proving Ground throughout the war, used for continuous testing and crew familiarization. Over 30,000 American soldiers viewed the Tiger, learning its capabilities and limitations. The tank fired over 2,000 rounds during testing, allowing Americans to study combat performance extensively. Post-war analysis revealed the Tiger's fuel consumption contributed significantly to German defeat. Wehrmacht records showed that by mid-1944, over 60% of Panthers and Tigers were immobilized due to fuel shortages rather than combat damage. The Ardennes offensive in December 1944 failed partly because Tiger units ran out of fuel short of their objectives. American fuel dumps the Germans had hoped to capture were deliberately moved out of reach. The captured Tiger at Aberdeen provided intelligence that saved countless American lives. Understanding that Tigers were logistically constrained allowed American commanders to develop tactics that exploited this weakness. Rather than engaging in frontal assaults against superior German armor, American forces used mobility and logistic superiority to achieve strategic victory. Modern armor designers still study the Tiger's fuel consumption as a cautionary tale. The M1 Abrams tank, despite its gas turbine engine's reputation for fuel consumption, achieves approximately 0.6 miles per gallon, better than the Tiger I achieved 80 years ago. The emphasis on operational range remains a critical factor in tank design. In the archives at Aberdeen Proving Ground, technical reports document every aspect of the Tiger evaluation. The fuel consumption data appears on page 47 of report number 53-A42. The numbers are stark: 120 miles per tank of fuel under ideal conditions, less than 80 miles under combat conditions. For the most feared tank of World War II, it was a fatal weakness. The captured Tiger I, serial number 250122, remains on display at the United States Army Ordnance Museum. A placard notes its technical specifications and combat history. But the most important information is written in a simple line at the bottom: operational radius approximately 60 miles. This limitation rendered the vehicle ineffective for sustained offensive operations despite its superior combat capabilities. Staff Sergeant Raymond Mitchell, who first calculated the fuel consumption figures that changed Allied understanding of German armor, later wrote, "We feared the Tiger because of what it could do to our tanks. We defeated the Tiger because we understood what it couldn't do. It couldn't follow us. It couldn't operate beyond its supply lines. It couldn't sustain operations without consuming resources Germany didn't have." The Tiger I was a magnificent machine defeated by mathematics.